Alrighty, it's time to finish up our keypads and doors and make them talk to each other. So for those of you just joining who were blessed by the algorithm to be here, we made a door that we can open and close. We can't open it at the moment because I've set it to lock over here. Let's unlock that. And we can unlock that door and walk through. But what if we wanted to lock the door and then give the player an option to open it via a keypad? Well, this is the keypad we created back 2 episodes ago, 61. For those of you who were here for that, I would like to draw your attention to a more appropriate font. If we come down to view options and we show engine content, you can see the engine content. With engine content, let's type in Droid, and we can see Droid Sans Mono here. Let's select that Droid Sans Mono font. And over in the keypad, if you were to select every single one of your text widgets here and select this arrow here with that selected, suddenly everyone's going to look a little bit more robotic. And then what we'll do with this text is actually change the color of it to something a little more robotic. We'll grab the color and opacity and we'll drop 0 on red and we'll drop 0 on blue. And yeah, that's a bit better. I'll drop down that size as well, make it 10 because the size is going to really pop later on. We'll make this 10 as well. So I'm going to change all the sizes to 10 and I'll set the uniform grid paddle to fill and the spacer to auto. Grab these guys. Let's make them about 5. There we go. Thought you guys might appreciate that. A little bit more keypaddy. So with that out of the way, let's now make them talk to each other. Over to b_door. Let's add component and it's going to be a widget. That widget is going to be, drumroll please, lo and behold, here in widget class, let's type in or go down to utility keypad. And let's play with the scale. Let's drag them all down to, let's say 0.5. And then let's drag this down here. Let's make this about 100 and 200. Maybe just a little bit less. Let's try 75, 150. That looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Compile and save that. So now we have our widget inside of our door. Remember in the first episode of this one, so that'd be 61, how I said we need to set this parent here. This is where we're going to do it. So inside the door, we're going to drag out that widget, drag off of that, type in get user widget object. Let's drag off that and cast to keypad. And then once we've cast to keypad, right click on that, promote to variable, reference keypad. And then we'll drag off of that and set parent. And parent will be self. So now the keypad knows who it's talking to when it finally wants to send that code. Let's go over to our interface here, which is in interfaces. I know I've left it open for a few episodes over, but we want to go to interfaces and don't forget to cancel out the search. I was like, where did all the interfaces go? So this interface here, if you haven't already opened it, we're going to add an input, and that input is going to be an integer, and that integer is going to be called code. Compile and save that. So now when we go over to keypad utility, we now have an option to put a code in. And our code is going to be the input, and we're going to convert that to an integer. So string to integer. And the only input we've allowed is numbers. So we should be absolutely fine to put that in. So let's compile and save that. Back over to the door. Let's go to class settings and add that interface. That was I_keypad. We'll compile and save that. Now with that, let's type in enter number. And this is the event we had. We have our code sent through, add another variable, and that's going to be door code to differentiate. And that is going to be an integer. Let's drag that in and check if the codes match. Now we'll grab a branch. And if that's all good, let's grab that reference keypad and set code. plug true into here, grab another one and plug false into here. If the codes match, we will tell code input, which is going to be tied to the screen on the keypad. We will say access granted. And this is another reason why I made sure the font was so small. And then we'll say here access denied. We'll get a delay. That delay can be 3 seconds. And then once that's done, we'll set that code to nothing. And the player can try again. Now, if it is true, we'll keep that as well. But what we'll do is toggle door. Let's go into the world and see that it's all good and well. It's on the other side, so that's fine. If I was to open that door and close that, you can see the keypad's there. So we'll attach the keypad to the door itself. To do that, we'll just drag that on top of the door. Make sure that it's all well and good. If we wanted to, we could also set the rotation of this according to whether the keypad's inverted or not. But for now, we're just going to set this door to not inverted and rotate that. I will show that a bit later on if we have time. So let's just set that to 180. I don't know why it says 179.99999, but 180 is what I want. It's not inverted. Now we can see the keypad if we walk up to it. Now, another few things we need to do. Let's go back over to the keypad itself. I keep clicking on the interface, so I'm going to close that. We don't need to do anything else with that. Let's grab this text. We're going to bind this text to code input. Just like that. So whatever comes up there is just going to be code input. Another thing we need to do is go to blueprints, open up core, and open up b_hero. Because we haven't actually given our hero anything to interact with the text yet. So let's go action/reload. And what we're going to do here is plug in a new widget. It's going to be called Widget Interaction. Just like that. This guy here, I want him attached to the camera. And if we go to the viewport, we can see him chilling out down there, or in the middle. We don't really want that. Let's zero him out so he's right on the camera. Just like that. Now this widget interaction, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but it allows us to interact with widgets in the world. Currently, we've been interacting with widgets with our actual mouse, but we don't have a mouse. So this is how we're simulating that mouse input. Compile, save that, over to the event graph, drag widget interaction in, drag off of that and go point. And if you type in point, you'll see press pointer key. We need that. And release pointer key. We'll need that. Plug press into pressed, release into released. And the button we want to simulate when we do this is going to be left mouse button. Left mouse button. So that's what we're simulating. If we select widget interaction, we can actually show a debugger here. And this is the distance that would have to be. So I'm going to set my distance to 250. Another thing too, so that our keypad doesn't interfere with us opening and closing the door, because if you've noticed that we're using action reload for two different things now, we're going to add another variable called has keypad. With, I'm not going to do that every time has keypad, but no need. Let's drag that up there so we can keep that together. And we're going to do that check over here before we give the player control. Moving these guys over to get a little bit more room, we're going to check if this door has a keypad. And then once again, if it does not have a keypad, that's when we will allow the player to open and close the door. If it does have a keypad, we can assume it's locked. Compile and save that. So one thing to keep in mind is that right now we've got a lot of components overlapping, and as it gets me every time I build this damn thing. If you go over to the door here, you can see that what I've done is I've actually minimized the box to about 30 on the x-axis, and I've moved the widget to 30 forward. So it's kind of floating on the door, which I actually don't mind, but this is necessary because if the widget is inside this box, you can't actually access the widget. You can't do anything to it. So here, as I hit play, you'll notice as I run up that now that I have enable debug on, I can actually look at these buttons. The red is just that debug line. So I could press them if I wanted to. And our keypad's working. But if yours isn't working, just make sure that your keypad isn't overlapping your box here. Now, I can't remember for the life of me if there's a way to turn this off. I think it's trace responses down here, and I'm going to do that in my own time though, because I've just spent a bit of time troubleshooting, because this happens to me every time. But that should be the solution there. So if you can't see it, just make sure that the widget is in front of this box. So now let's have some fun with this. Let's select the door. We're going to have to expose our has keypad and door code. We'll actually move that reference up here as well. So this is the cool part now. We can actually go compile save. If we select this door and we lock it like so, we say has keypad, so that basically we're not going to get the prompt to open it. And then we punch in the code. Let's punch in a simple code like 1, 2, 3, 4. Back over to the door. Let's also make sure that we set that boolean to unlocked. So between toggle door, once the code has been accepted, we'll say door locked as false, compile, save, and let's do it. Let's see if this is going to happen. We're going to walk up to the door. We're going to realize that we can't open it, but there's this keypad in front of us. Let's type in, hovering over 1 and pressing E, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm going to press enter. Access granted is what that's meant to say, and after a 3-second delay, the door will open. So there it is. That's working and ready to go. And then now if I walk up again, we'll need to also set keypad false. We'll also hide the keypad as well. If we grab that widget and we go set visibility, we can set that to false as well. And we'll also hide the keypad. So the keypad will disappear and we'll be able to interact with the door as normal. Like so. Back to the testing room. Let's run over here, punch in our code again. Let's also see what happens when we punch in the wrong code. If I punch in just any random code and then I press enter, access denied. I'll need to minimize that font, but you get the idea. And then after 3 seconds, it should disappear. It's not disappearing. That's fine. Let's go check out why. Because we didn't clear out this code input here. That was pretty easy. My bad, guys. Compile, save that again. Do another run. Any excuse to play the prototype. I love playing the prototype. And then press enter and access denied. 2, 3, boom, gone. Now I have a chance to enter the code for realsies. And I punch that in. Access granted. 3 seconds. And as the door opens, the keypad will disappear. It is a working prototype. So now you can drag in as many doors as you want. Set if they're locked and set their codes. And who knows, maybe we'll have a dialogue system coming up where NPCs could give you the codes to those doors. Who knows? Stay tuned to find out.